The massive Artaxian exploration vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Its crystalline hull sparkled against the backdrop of distant stars as its sensors began scanning the third planet. Captain Zixtal, his purple scales gleaming under the bridge lights, leaned forward in his command chair. After 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy, the Artaxian Empire had gotten very good at first contact situations. This would be no different. Primitive technology detected, reported his science officer. They have achieved basic spaceflight, but nothing beyond their neighboring planet. No energy shields, no faster-than-light travel. She paused, mandibles clicking in amusement. They still use combustion engines. Zixtal nodded, unsurprised. His ship had discovered hundreds of such species over his career. Some joined the Empire peacefully. Others had to be taught their place. All eventually became part of the greatest civilization in known space. The probe was launched according to standard protocol. It would enter the atmosphere, broadcast the Empire's message in all known languages, and analyze the planet's response. The captain allowed himself a moment of boredom. These missions had become routine. On Earth, things were anything but routine. In the underground complex of the Unified Defense Council, military leaders from every nation watched the alien vessel on their quantum imaging arrays. General Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's Space Defense Force, studied the probe's descent with careful eyes. "They're following exactly the pattern we expected," she said to the assembled council. "Just like the other 15 species we've been monitoring for the past 50 years. The room was calm, professional. Humanity had known about the Empire for decades, carefully hiding their own advances, while their observation posts throughout the galaxy gathered intelligence. They had watched as other civilizations were conquered or subjugated. They had learned, prepared, and waited. The probe entered Earth's atmosphere at precisely 1427 UTC. Its message boomed across every communication channel on the planet. "Greetings, people of Earth. You have been chosen to join the greatest civilization in the galaxy. The Artaxian Empire offers you the chance to submit willingly and receive the benefits of Imperial citizenship. Resistance will result in immediate extinction. You have one planetary rotation to respond." In homes and offices across the world, people went about their business. There was no panic, no chaos. Everyone knew their role. 50 years of preparation had led to this moment. The Defense Council activated the response protocol they had rehearsed countless times. Their message was simple, transmitted in perfect Imperial standard. "Leave. This is your only warning." On the bridge of his ship, Captain Zixtal stared at the response in disbelief. In 10,000 years of Imperial history, no species had ever responded with such insolence. He played the message again, his scales darkening with anger. "They must be even more primitive than we thought," his first officer suggested. "Perhaps they don't understand the honor being offered to them." Zixtal's claws clicked against his armrest. "Send the standard response to defiance. A battle group should be adequate to teach them proper respect." As the Imperial vessel transmitted its orders, General Chen watched from her command center. She turned to the council, her expression serious but confident. "And now we wait," she said. "They'll send their ships, just like they always do. And then they'll learn why we gave them a warning." Around the table, the military leaders of Earth nodded. Decades of hidden technological advancement, of secrets kept even from their own people, would soon serve their purpose. Humanity had developed in isolation for a reason. They had built their defenses in secret for a reason. The Empire thought they had found another primitive species to conquer. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Admiral Creevil stood proudly on the bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Eternal Glory, leading a battle group of 50 warships toward Earth. The blue planet grew larger on his view screen, looking peaceful and vulnerable. His mandibles clicked in anticipation of an easy victory. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless successful conquests. "All ships in attack formation." "Admiral," his tactical officer responded. No signs of advanced defensive systems detected. Their primitive satellites are tracking us, but they pose no threat. The Admiral had chosen to approach from above the solar system's orbital plane, a standard tactic that had worked in thousands of conquests before. His ships, each nearly a mile long, cast enormous shadows as they passed through the asteroid belt. "Begin the broadcast," he ordered. "Let the galaxy witness how the Empire deals with defiance." Across Imperial space, billions of beings tuned in to watch what they assumed would be another routine conquest. The Empire always broadcast these events. They served as excellent reminders of Imperial power. On Earth, in the Unified Defense Command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Chen watched the approaching fleet with her command staff. Holographic displays showed the positions of every Imperial vessel. "They're following exactly the approach vector we predicted," her tactical officer noted. "Moving past Jupiter now." Chen nodded, her face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the displays. "They're so predictable. 50 ships, they're not even taking us seriously." "Should we power up the defensive grid?" asked Colonel Rodriguez, his finger hovering over a control panel. "Not yet," Chen replied calmly. "Let them come closer. Let them think they have us exactly where they want us." In space, Admiral Krevol was giving his speech to the galaxy. His image was being broadcast to countless worlds as he spoke with practiced superiority. "Let this be a lesson to all who would defy the Empire," he declared. "These humans thought they could resist our generous offer. Now they will serve as an example of the price of defiance." His words were interrupted by a junior officer. "Admiral, we're detecting some unusual readings from Earth's moon." "Probably their primitive monitoring equipment," Krevol dismissed. "Nothing to be concerned about." The battle group continued its advance, their formation perfect, their weapons primed. They passed the orbit of Mars, their sensors still detecting nothing but basic technology from Earth. "Prepare targeting solutions," Krevol commanded. "We'll start with their military installations, then their largest cities. Standard conquest protocol." In the command bunker, General Chen received a message from the Lunar Defense Base. She allowed herself a small smile. "They're within range," she announced. "All stations, prepare for Operation Wake-Up Call." Around the world, hidden facilities hummed to life. In orbit, seemingly innocent satellites shifted positions slightly. On the moon's dark side, massive arrays of equipment, invisible to Imperial sensors, began powering up. Admiral Krevol was about to give the order to fire when his tactical officer suddenly shouted, "Admiral, something's wrong with our shields." "Impossible," Krevol snapped. "These primitives don't have any weapons that cooled." He never finished his sentence. Across his entire fleet, shield generators began failing. Weapon systems went dark. Communication arrays fell silent. "What's happening?" he demanded, but even his internal ship communications were starting to break down. In the command bunker, General Chen stood up. "Send the message," she ordered. Across the Imperial fleet, every working screen displayed the same simple text. "We warned you once. You should have listened." The mighty Imperial battle group, pride of the Artaxian Empire, was about to learn why humanity had been so confident in giving just one warning. Admiral Krevol watched in horror as his mighty fleet drifted helplessly in space. Nothing worked. Not the shields, not the weapons, not even the basic maneuvering thrusters. His ships, pride of the Imperial fleet, had become nothing more than metal boxes floating in the void. "How?" he demanded, pounding his command chair with a scaled fist. "How are these primitives doing this?" His science officer worked frantically at her dead console. It's like the laws of physics themselves are being rewritten around us. Quantum fields are collapsing. Energy patterns are being disrupted at the subatomic level." Through the view screens, they watched as small objects began appearing from behind Mars. At first, they looked like simple chemical rockets, the kind that had convinced the Empire that humanity was primitive. But as they got closer, the truth became clear. These weren't primitive rockets at all. Multiple craft approaching, called out a sensor operator, using backup systems that barely functioned. They're using contained singularities as power sources. In the Earth Defense Command Center, General Chen watched the operation unfold. Around her, operators coordinated the attack with calm efficiency. "Quantum disruption fields holding steady," reported one technician. "Their ships are completely neutralized." Chen nodded. "Deploy the hunter squadrons. Let's show them what 50 years of preparation looks like." The primitive human ships accelerated with impossible speed. Each one was powered by a microscopic black hole, contained within fields that humanity had perfected decades ago. They had hidden this technology, along with so much more, waiting for this exact moment. On his flagship, Admiral Kreval could only watch as the human vessels surrounded his fleet. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, sleek, black shapes that seemed to absorb light itself. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice shook. "I'm detecting. Something is eating through our hulls." Clouds of what looked like silver dust emerged from the human ships. Under microscopic examination, they would have revealed themselves as billions of nanobots, each programmed to dismantle the Imperial vessels piece by piece. "This is impossible," Kreval whispered. "They were supposed to be primitives. They barely reached their own moon." A human voice, calm and professional, came through on the only channel still working. "Admiral Kreval, this is General Chen of Earth Defense Command. Your ships are now under our control. Your weapons have been neutralized. Your technology has been compromised." In the command center, Chen continued, "We spent 50 years studying your empire. We watched how you conquered other worlds. We learned your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Everything you saw of Earth was what we wanted you to see." The nanobots continued their work, methodically stripping away weapons and propulsion systems, but leaving life support intact. Around Earth, massive defense platforms, hidden beneath holographic shrouds, became visible one by one. "The choice is yours, Admiral," Chen explained. "Surrender your fleet now, and your crews will be treated well. Continue to resist, and we'll be forced to demonstrate more of what humanity is truly capable of." Kreval, his pride shattered along with his fleet, slumped in his chair. We surrender." As the Empire's mighty battle group hung helpless in space, a single ship was allowed to power up, just enough to limp back to Imperial space with a message. In the command center, Colonel Rodriguez turned to General Chen. "Should we stop them from escaping?" Chen shook her head, a slight smile on her face. "No, let them go. Let them tell the Empire exactly what happened here. Let them explain why we only needed to give one warning. The humans had revealed their hand at last, and the galaxy would never be the same." The Imperial High Command Chamber on Artaxis Prime had never been so quiet. 12 of the Empire's highest-ranking admirals watched the footage from the escaped ship in stunned silence. On the massive holographic display, they saw their mighty battle group being dismantled piece by what they had thought was a primitive species. High Admiral Vexthor, his scales now a pale gray from stress, spoke first. "Play it again." They watched once more as the human ships emerged, powered by technology the Empire had thought impossible to control. They saw the swarms of nanobots strip their vessels like hungry insects devouring leaves. Most disturbing of all, they saw how their own advanced technology simply stopped working. "How did we miss this?" Vexthor demanded. "How did they hide all of this from us?" In a secure chamber beneath the Imperial Palace, the Empire's best scientists studied the data from the failed invasion. Dr. Ixel, the Empire's leading physicist, pointed at a complex diagram. "See here," she explained, her tentacles waving in agitation. "They didn't just develop better technology. They found ways to turn our own technology against us. These quantum disruption fields, they're elegant, beautiful, even. They must have been watching us for decades, learning our weaknesses." On Earth, General Chen was conducting a very different kind of meeting. She stood in a massive hangar, showing the captured Imperial ships to representatives from Earth's scientific community. As we suspected, she explained, walking past the stripped-down hulls, their technology relies heavily on quantum field manipulation. That was their weakness. They never considered someone might find a way to disrupt those fields entirely. Dr. James Wong, lead scientist of the Earth Defense Project, nodded as he scanned the alien vessels. They became so dependent on their shields and energy weapons that they forgot the basics of warfare. They haven't had to think about actual physical combat for thousands of years. Back on Artaxis Prime, the Imperial Security Council was facing an unprecedented crisis. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. The single ship that escaped Earth had transmitted its experience to every corner of the Empire. "Our citizens are scared," reported the Minister of Internal Security, his claws clicking nervously on the marble table. "For the first time in Imperial history, they've seen our ships defeated. Not just defeated, humiliated." In orbit around Earth, human crews were carefully documenting everything they learned from the captured Imperial vessels. Each ship was a treasure trove of information, revealing not just technology, but Imperial battle tactics, communication protocols, and strategic thinking. Colonel Rodriguez supervised the investigation of the Imperial flagship's bridge. "They really thought they were invincible," he said to his team. "That's why they broadcast their attacks across the galaxy. They never imagined it could backfire." General Chen received the preliminary reports in her office. Each one confirmed what Earth's hidden observers had discovered over the past 50 years. The Empire's greatest weakness was its own sense of superiority. "Send the next message," she ordered. Across Imperial space, on every communication channel, a simple transmission began playing. It showed the captured Imperial ships, the disabled weapons, and the proof of Earth's technological superiority. The message below was brief. "You ignored our warning. You thought us weak. Now you understand why we only needed to warn you once. Consider carefully what happens next." In the Imperial Palace, High Admiral Vex Thor watched the human message with growing dread. For the first time in his long career, he faced an enemy that didn't just match Imperial power. They had surpassed it. And worse, they had done it right under the Empire's nose. The game had changed, and humanity was now holding all the cards. The Imperial War Room buzzed with frantic activity. Hundreds of tactical displays showed the Empire's military forces gathering at strategic points throughout the galaxy. High Admiral Vex Thor stood at the center of it all, watching as the largest fleet in Imperial history assembled. 10,000 ships, his aide reported. The entire Imperial Navy gathered as ordered. But despite the impressive show of force, something was wrong. The Admiral could feel it in the nervous movements of his officers, see it in their dulled scales and twitching mandibles. For the first time in Imperial history, they were afraid. "Sir," a young tactical officer called out, her voice shaking. "We've detected something unusual in the Proxima Centauri system." The main display shifted, showing what appeared to be a simple asteroid field. But as they watched, one of the asteroids moved, then another, and another. "They're not asteroids," Dr. Ixel announced, rushing into the war room with fresh data. "They're automated defense platforms, human technology, and we're finding them everywhere." In the Earth Defense Command Center, General Chen reviewed the Empire's movements on her own tactical displays. Colonel Rodriguez stood beside her, watching the Imperial fleet's buildup. "They're gathering everything they have," he observed. 10,000 ships against our few hundred." Chen smiled slightly. "Numbers don't matter when you control the battlefield. How many of our defense networks have they found?" "Less than 10%, Rodriguez replied. "Just enough to make them nervous." Back in Imperial space, more disturbing reports arrived hourly. Dr. Ixel presented her findings to the Imperial Security Council, her tentacles twisted with anxiety. "The humans don't think like us," she explained. "While we were busy ruling the galaxy, they were preparing for war. They built defenses before they had enemies. They developed weapons before they had targets. She displayed a graph showing human technological development. Most species follow a predictable pattern of advancement. Not humans. They deliberately showed us obsolete technology while developing something far more dangerous: unpredictability. In orbit around Earth, engineers continued studying the captured Imperial ships. Each vessel revealed new secrets about how the Empire fought its wars. More importantly, they showed how the Empire thought about warfare and all its blind spots. General Chen received a priority message from one of humanity's many hidden observation posts. "Another Imperial probe detected in the Sirius system," she read. "They're trying to map our defenses. Should we stop them?" Rodriguez asked. "No," Chen replied. "Let them look. Let them see just enough to understand what they're facing." On Artaxis Prime, High Admiral Vexthor faced the Imperial Council with devastating news. "Our deep space scans have confirmed it," he reported grimly. "The humans have been establishing hidden colonies throughout our territory for decades. Right under our noses, each one protected by technology we barely understand." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts and fearful whispers. An elder counselor slammed his clawed hand on the table. "How is this possible? We control this galaxy." "No," Vexthor replied quietly. "We only thought we did." In her office on Earth, General Chen received the final confirmation she had been waiting for. The quantum entanglement network was complete, a web of human technology spanning the galaxy, ready to shut down Imperial ships wherever they might be. "Send the message to all Imperial forces," she commanded. Throughout space, Imperial commanders received a simple transmission. "Your ships gather impressively. Your numbers are great. But ask yourselves this: if we could hide our technology for 50 years, if we could defeat your fleet without losing a single ship, what else have we hidden? Are you sure you want to find out?" The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Now, for the first time, they were the ones who were afraid. The vast Imperial fleet hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. 10,000 ships, arranged in perfect battle formation, waited at the edge of what they now called human space. On the bridge of the super-dreadnought Imperial Might, High Admiral Vexthor struggled with a decision no Imperial commander had ever faced before. "All ships report ready for combat," his fleet commander announced. But the words lacked their usual confidence. "And the humans?" Vexthor asked. "No movement, sir. Their defense platforms remain active but passive. They're just waiting." In the Earth Defense Command Center, General Chen watched the Imperial fleet on her holographic displays. The massive gathering of ships would have been terrifying, if not for the small green dots scattered throughout the Imperial formation. Humanity's hidden observers, watching every move. "They've been holding position for 6 hours," Colonel Rodriguez reported. "No aggressive actions, no withdrawal." Chen nodded. "They're afraid to advance, but too proud to retreat." Exactly as predicted. She turned to her communication officer. "Begin Phase 6. Across the Imperial fleet, every communication system suddenly activated at once. The message was simple, playing on every screen, in every ship. "Look around you." At first, the Imperial commanders didn't understand. Then, one by one, seemingly solid asteroids began to shimmer and fade. Space itself seemed to ripple as hidden stations, defense platforms, and human ships deactivated their camouflage fields. The Imperial fleet was surrounded. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered, watching as hundreds of human installations revealed themselves. They had been there the whole time, waiting, watching. His tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, we're detecting more installations. Everywhere. They're appearing in our supply lines, near our major worlds, even in the heart of Imperial space." In her command center, General Chen spoke directly to the Imperial fleet. "For 50 years, we studied you. While you conquered other worlds, we were building. While you demanded submission, we were preparing. Every time you subjugated a species, we learned from your tactics. And now, The displays in front of Vexthor lit up with new information. Hidden human colonies, defense networks, and surveillance posts appeared throughout Imperial space. They had been there for decades, establishing positions right under the Empire's nose. "We are already everywhere," Chen continued. "Your sensors are only now seeing what we want you to see. Ask yourself, what else haven't you detected?" On Artaxis Prime, the Imperial Council watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from across their territory. Governor after governor confirmed the same thing. Human presence detected. Human technology found. Human installations revealed. "How deep are they into our territory?" the Emperor himself demanded. Dr. Ixel, reviewing the data, could only shake her head. We don't know. They could be anywhere. Everywhere." Back at the fleet, Vexthor received a private message from Earth. The words glowed on his personal screen. "You have two choices, Admiral. You can order your fleet to attack, and we will be forced to demonstrate exactly how much of your territory we can control. Or you can open a diplomatic channel, and we can discuss terms for peaceful coexistence." In the command center, Colonel Rodriguez watched the Imperial fleet closely. "Do you think they'll attack?" General Chen smiled slightly. "No. They're finally learning what we've known all along. The best victory is the one you win before the battle begins." As if to confirm her words, a new signal came from the Imperial flagship. The greatest fleet in Imperial history, faced with an enemy they couldn't see or count, was requesting to open diplomatic channels. Humanity's single warning had been enough after all. They hadn't just prepared for war. They had prepared so well that they might have just prevented one. The Imperial Palace's Great Hall had never hosted anything like this before. For 10,000 years, this room had seen countless species kneel before the Emperor. Today, for the first time, humans stood as equals before the Imperial throne. Emperor Zexthar, his scales shimmering with the traditional gold of Imperial power, faced General Chen and the Earth delegation. The silence in the massive chamber was heavy with historical significance. For 10 millennia, the Emperor began, his voice carrying across the hall. The Empire has been the greatest power in the galaxy. No species has ever done what yours has accomplished. General Chen, wearing her formal military uniform, stood straight and confident. "We didn't want war, Emperor. We simply wanted to ensure we would never become slaves." The Emperor gestured to the peace treaty floating as a hologram between them. It was remarkably simple for a document that would reshape galactic politics. 1. Earth and all human colonies would be recognized as independent territory. 2. The Empire would cease all forced incorporations of other species. 3. Technology would be shared, benefiting all species. 4. A new Galactic Council would be formed, where all species would have equal voice. In the Earth Defense Command Center, Colonel Rodriguez watched the ceremony with other senior staff. "Do you think they'll honor it?" he asked. His colleague smiled. "They know our defense networks are still in place. Trust, but verify. That's what General Chen always says." Back in the Great Hall, Dr. Ixel presented her findings to the assembled dignitaries. "Human innovation will revolutionize Imperial technology," she explained, her tentacles moving with excitement rather than fear now. "Their approach to quantum mechanics alone will advance our science by centuries." The Emperor raised his hand, silencing the murmurs in the hall. "There is one thing we must know," he said to General Chen. "Why did you give us only one warning? Why not try to negotiate from the beginning?" Chen's response was calm but carried clear meaning. "Because we needed you to understand something fundamental about humanity. We prefer peace, but we will never accept subjugation. The warning wasn't a threat. It was a chance for you to choose a better path." Throughout the galaxy, beings of all species watched the ceremony on their communication devices. They saw the mighty Empire signing a treaty of equals. They saw humans and Imperials shaking hands, sharing technology, planning a future together. On 1,000 worlds, hope began to grow. In orbit above Artaxis Prime, Human and Imperial ships flew together in a ceremonial formation. The same Imperial ships that had come to conquer Earth now flew alongside human vessels in a display of unity. "The galaxy is changing," Chen said to the Emperor after the ceremony. "It can be a change that lifts all species up, or it can be a change that tears us apart. The choice has always been yours." The Emperor nodded slowly. "For 10,000 years, we thought power came from forcing others to submit. You taught us that true power comes from being strong enough to extend a hand in peace." As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, the Emperor had one final question. "Your hidden colonies, your defense networks throughout our territory, will you dismantle them?" General Chen smiled diplomatically. "Some of them, yes. The others will remain exactly where they are, as a reminder of why keeping peace is better than risking war." 1 month later, the first joint Human-Imperial Scientific Conference began. Species from across the galaxy attended, sharing knowledge freely for the first time in Imperial history. Dr. Wang, presenting Earth's quantum disruption technology, summed up the new era perfectly. "The Empire taught the galaxy how to conquer. Humanity will teach the galaxy how to cooperate. Together, we'll reach heights neither of us could have achieved alone." The single warning that had started it all had led not to destruction, but to something unprecedented. A galaxy where strength and wisdom walked hand in hand.